Chapter 7. How to reconcile the bank statement and your husband and other ugly problems. I want my kitchen remodeled before I'm any older. I'll do it, said Fang, and got me a new potholder. That's from a book called Miser Methods. No book on household hints would be complete without a word on the nauseating subject of budgeting. So to collect the most expert tips I could, I observed the master miser, Fang. I know you have to watch where your money goes, but Fang was once hit in the eye by a cash register key. When he proposed, I thought he had money because he said he spent hours every week clipping coupons. He meant the kind that gives 8% off of a box of detergent. The wedding ring he bought me was so cheap, I just have to look at it to know I'm not happily married. When we were finally married, he moved me into a house so run down that once when I left a box of clothing on the front porch for the Goodwill charity, they took the house too. For the first 6 months, we lived on refunds from double your money back guarantees. Despite the fact that he doesn't make much, I feel he is a bit too thrifty. What other family uses a Bible from the library? Even if the following ideas for saving money are not possible for you to use, at least it will make your husband seem like a philanthropist. When you're in as rotten a financial situation as we are, it's important to be able to put off your creditors. The following tricks may be of some help. Number 1. When you get a letter from a creditor who tries to be polite and says, "It's so easy to forget a little bill like this," write back and say, "Okay, forget it." Number 2. Of course, everybody knows that charity begins at home. We have perfected that concept. On everybody else's window, it says, "We gave." On ours, it says, "We'll take." Most men you go out with realize money talks. Fang doesn't let money even whisper. Nothing slows down his money-saving approach. Number 1. Recently he started worrying about the cost of our daughter's wedding, so he bought an aluminum ladder that he said anybody could lift. When we go out and he buys me a corsage, I know enough to not get him a boutonniere because it would be bigger. When we have guests, he puts a cherry in a glass of beer and calls it a Manhattan. We already have pay TV. When our company watches television, Fang passes the hat. The family car is one of the, quote, expense centers of any household. My husband said he was buying me an economy car. It didn't have a motor. He says I can't get another one until they invent a car that will run by the rays of the sun. Here are some money-saving devices that he's figured out. Number 1. Fang didn't get a heater for the car because he insisted we could heat it with a cigarette lighter. Even on the road, you can still save money. When the man in the Parkway toll booth hands him a ticket, Fang says, "No, thank you." Number 3. He insists on fixing the car himself, even though he is so far from mechanical that I've seen him try to look at an engine through the ignition keyhole. Number 4. The only time we have safety belts is when the chains aren't needed on the tires. You don't get trading stamps when you go to the obstetrician. Number 1. At a social gathering, ask any doctor for advice. We were at a party once, and Fang said to a doctor, "What should I do about this cough?" The doctor said, "Put your hand over your mouth." For Christmas, give each of the kids a certificate to the dentist. Fang is so afraid of going to the dentist himself that he once went disguised as a pregnant woman. Number 3, stay drunk. Fang can't bear to spend money on glasses because he knows he always drinks so much that they wouldn't help anyhow. Fang hates to call us servicemen. The other day he called the plumber and asked if he could bring the leak in and have it fixed. He has devised some ingenious methods of fixing things. Number 1, the roof leaked over our bedroom. When I told him to take care of it, he bought me a pair of all-weather pajamas. We're always running out of fuel because Fang buys it by the quart. If I ever turn the heat on when the temperature is above 30, he accuses me of arson. He has discovered some methods that seem to hold promise for saving on the heating bills. Number 1, last winter we were heating with liniment. Number 2, we turn down the heat while the candles on the birthday cake are lit. New tricks from an old dog. Fang will never be accused of being the last of the big spenders. He wants to be so sure he gets his money's worth, that he once went to a stag dinner where a burlesque queen jumped out of a cake and he asked, "Now what are we going to have for dessert?" The last time he took me out for a drink was when our town gave Sabin liquid vaccine free. I finally tricked him into taking me out to eat by telling him it would cut down on the grocery bill. It had been so long since the last time that when the waiter asked me what I wanted, I said, "A pound of sirloin." And the cheap restaurant he took me to, it was so bad that the Humane Society stopped them from giving out doggy bags. Here's Fang's favorite restaurant money saver. Instead of tipping, he shakes hands. Nobody knows how to save money on vacation as well as Fang. When we were going together, he promised me every year he'd take me to the seashore. The nearest I got to the seashore was a Hamilton Beach vacuum cleaner. Some of his most recent tricks are, number 1, last year he bought me the book Hawaii and then gave me some seasick pills. Number 2, asking for economy class tickets when we take the subway. Number 3, of course, he has suffered some reverses. He found out that you can't get your phone disconnected every time you're going out of town for the weekend, but he tried. He's an emotional spender. He cries while he's shopping. Number 1, once when I was out of town, I asked Fang to wire me some flowers. He put 2 rose petals inside of a 35-cent telegram. Number 2, instead of getting me a new Easter outfit, every year Fang takes me to a different church. The year after we made the Hindu temple, we moved out of town. Number 3, instead of eggs on Easter, our kids color pumpkin seeds. He's had them saved from Halloween. Number 4, he buys such cheap appliances that instead of a warranty, we get a warning. Number 5, he buys hair cream that advertises "a little dab'll do ya," only he uses half a dab. Number 6, last year Fang not only made his own Christmas cards, he made his own stamps. From the moment you and your husband get up in the morning, be alert. Your first problem will be to get back into bed. This can always be solved in several ways. Number 1, pretend you're economizing. Ask him if he wanted you to waste the heat still left in the electric blanket. Number 2, be sure to have a bottle of sleeping pills in the medicine chest. If your husband thinks you are having trouble sleeping, he might not believe that you nap as often as you do. It's just some tail. This may not be necessary for you to get your husband up, but with Fang I use a plunger. Supposing you're a housewife and you've goofed. Let's put it this way. It's 4:30 and you're still in bed, and that's pretty close to ogre time. So try the following. Okay, hold on. Let's adjust the camera. There we go. Sorry, everybody. Number 1, put a little O-cedar behind your ear. It makes you smell tired. Number 2, splash cold water on your face. If you pant a little, it looks exactly like beads of sweat. Number 3, rouge your knees. It will look like you've been scrubbing the floors. Number 4, have a broken strap hanging from your sleeve. It gives the impression you've been reaching and stretching. Number 5, let your husband see you take off your shoes and rub the bottom of your feet. What Dr. Brothers doesn't tell you. Number 1, make a list of things to do. Check them off and leave the list where your husband can see it. Only one man in 10,000 will check to see whether they are done or not. Number 2, never go out in the middle of the week without yawning all evening. Number 3, to avoid having your husband complain you're giving him for dinner the same thing he had for lunch, louse it up so he won't know if it's the same thing or not. Number 4, if you are single, get married on Thanksgiving Day so you can insist upon eating out on your anniversary. Number 5, if your husband's on a damn special diet, like 3 meals a day, use all the shortcuts you can. I even buy frozen toast. Number 6, have your husband call home at noon. He'll find it easier to take a half-day's complaints at a time. Number 7, when your husband wants to go out with the boys, let him. It's easier to sulk than to be nice to him. Never go to bed mad. Stay up and fight. Just the other day I said to Fang, don't you think we've got a storybook romance? And he said, yeah, and every page is ripped. I recommend the following. Number 1, periodically renewing your vows. Not the vows that you'll kill him if he's late for dinner or forgets your anniversary, your marriage vows. Number 2, using terms of endearment when you fight, like, sweetheart, you know I can't stand your fathead mother, darling, and, sweetie, I'm leaving you, honey, if you ever drink that much again. Number 3, do romantic things like scrubbing the kitchen floor by candlelight. The end. It's really bad camera work this time. Sorry.